without a passport or a pass. It was called a passbook. We could not move from one county to another.
Without one.
The British won, and they took Uganda, they took Kenya, and they took Tanzania. But for Kenya, they called it a colony. Each nation had their own headquarters. But all the same, we had the headquarters for East Africa in Kenya. Even in Nairobi, there were areas a black person could not go.
All right, guys. Welcome. This is another episode that I have today, and today's topic is going to be about slavery, and we have different stories and all that about slavery in Africa, slavery in the United States, and all that. And today I have somebody from back in the day who probably went through it, experienced it, and was in the scenario when things happened, apart from the books being written and everything. And I hope today she's going to enlighten us, open up our eyes, let us know what was there and what was not there in the books and in reality. Because, you know, some things can be edited from the books for sure. So without much ado, like usual, I'm your host, Bryke, and today we have, what's your name? Jane?
Yep.
All right, guys, there we go. We have Jane in the studio today, and that's about it. So we're pretty much going to talk about everything about slavery and pretty much whatever she knows about slavery and her experience in the slavery period and all that colonial period. So without much ado, wait, with curiosity, when were you born? Oh, is it a woman's thing you don't want to say?
I'm okay.
Okay.
But my name, as the host has said, is Jane. I was born during the times of before the Kenya was colonized. So I have experienced a bit. I've seen some of the things that happened. And I grew up in those urban areas, whereby we were not so much exposed to so many things, but there was a lot of good things that we learned from our old people and also from the young ones. Yeah. I was born in a family. My mother was a Christian, but my father wasn't.
Okay.
My mother went to school somehow. And so even during our time, we were not able to attend school. It was very hard for girls to be educated. But now here I am because of my mother.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
Thank you.
That's nice.
Welcome, our viewers. I thank you, even for being there for us.
Okay. You've all heard that. She's thanked all of y'all for watching and all that. And I don't think you get a lot of people saying that for sure. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you don't mind, I'm curious, before the colonial period, the pre-colonial Africa, how was it before the colonial period?
Before our nation or the nations, most of the nations, and let me talk about our nation. Before we were colonized, we used to live in communities. We had community farms, and each family used to build houses in one place. So the grandfather, the wives, and also their children, we were all in one place. And we were able to move about without any fear. We had playgrounds. In the evenings, we used to, our grandparents used to light the fire, especially the men. And while the parents were cooking, all the children used to sit with the older people at the fireplace. Outside, yes. And this is where we were told folk stories about our ancestors, about our origin. We were taught so many things about each tribe because Africa is made up of very many different tribes. So during this time, we were able to know much about especially our tribe and how the different tribes used to fight because of whatever each one had. For example, you have the Maasai who used to fight with the Kikuyu because that tribe believed that all the cows belonged to them.
Okay.
So, and they were also friendly. They exchanged goods. There was no money. There was no money. So what they used was called the barter trade.
Barter trade, yeah.
So they exchanged goods for goods.
Yeah.
If you wanted corn and you didn't have beans, you exchanged the corn with one who had the beans.
Yeah.
If you had no sheep, you wanted a goat, you exchanged with that person.
Yeah.
So we exchanged anything that one needed.
Yeah.
But then things changed when the colonialists came. They introduced the money and good things and also bad things, because everything has disadvantages and advantages.
Yeah.
So this life changed when these people came. You could move from any place to anywhere. And even in farming, we had different places for growing different types of crops.
Yeah.
The land was owned by the clan. So the people divided. If it was a place for planting sweet potatoes, that was an area for everyone to have a portion. If it were bananas, if each person had a portion for bananas.
Yeah.
From corn, if it was arrowroots, whatever, they divided those portions. And each one had a place to go and work, get the food, and satisfy the family.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nice. So, you said you was born before the colonial period. So, I don't know how old you was. I don't know.
I was born during that time when they came.
Oh, when they came.
When they came.
Okay.
But it was not that bad.
Okay.
And especially in our area, we were not so much affected like other areas where they took the shambas.
Okay.
With us, where we were able to move freely, to have our own land. But for other areas like where coffee can be grown, where they could get big tracts of land and they plant coffee, they repressed these people.
Wow.
And they gathered them into villages.
So during that time, were you a teenager or were you still a kid?
I was a kid, but I was somebody who could understand. I was the firstborn.
Yeah, the tough times get you to experiencing and
I was the
environment for sure. Yeah.
I was the firstborn, and I had 2 brothers. So you can guess.
Oh wow!
I was, by the time these things were happening, and the time the group of liberating the land. Let me talk about Mau Mau because I'm from Kenya.
Okay. Let's hear about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Before this, I was born before this group was formed.
Okay.
And troubles and problems started when the group was formed. Because now they had to go looking for these people, their relatives, whoever was involved was in trouble.
Okay.
And my family was part of this group. There were some men, some of my uncles who joined the force. So we were no better than the people.
So was it when you joined the group, were you chosen or did you choose to participate?
One was not chosen.
So you had to join
You had
regardless.
to join voluntarily. Just as
Voluntarily,
to-
so. So it's voluntarily. You
it
have
was
to choose
voluntary.
to join.
Yeah, yeah. But it depended
Uh-huh.
on the stories that were told, because some of my relatives had gone to other places like Nairobi, Kiambu, and they had seen the situation the people were living in.
Yeah.
The trouble, the problem, the friction, the oppression. So they said, how can somebody come into your house and take what you have?
Yeah.
We are all one.
Yeah.
So we must join and liberate. Because even those who went to work in those chambers, they were paid very little. So they were also not happy.
And for those who don't understand, shambas means like gardens,
Gardens,
farms and stuff.
Farms, yep.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to apologize for that. It's just clarity.
Yeah. When a time came when the life we were living changed, when the colonizers came. They came and took the land where they could plant big tracts of coffee, tea, plantations, and some took place areas where they could keep animals like cows, sheep, and goats.
Yeah.
So they had big ranches. They needed people to work there.
Yeah.
They needed people to pick the coffee and also the people to pluck the tea. So these people who were displaced are the same people who were taken and kept in those farms. And because they had nothing, they had nowhere else to go, they have no livelihood, no chambers, no nothing. They had to agree.
Yeah.
And that's how we got those places and how these people worked. But there are still those who did not go because they had families. They could not all go there.
Yeah.
So they were left in villages.
Wow. Wow. So if you don't mind me asking, we have books say there's a specific year where colonizers came in, but you being born in that era, do you know specifically when did they start moving in?
They started moving in after the First World War, and especially after the Second World War, those who are fighting in Asia, Burma, India, and those areas.
Yeah.
Instead of going back to Britain, they were brought to East Africa, and mostly Kenya. Kenya is a very good land.
Oh yeah.
So they were given tracts of land as a reward for the work they had done for their nation.
Oh wow.
So what could they do? They didn't have any land. Their nation did not have land, but because they were told, we have rewarded you, and they had guns, so they had to come and...
So is that what we call is it the white lands in Kenya? I think it's called white lands in Kenya, but nowadays I think people are fighting about it, but
They were
a lot
called
of
the
white people are trying to
lands.
move from Kenya, coming back, whatever, to where they came from. I don't know if it's the United States, Britain, or whatever.
They came from Britain.
Yeah.
We were colonized by Britain.
Yeah, but I think we still have United States people living in the white lands. That's what they call it, white lands.
They came afterwards.
Afterwards?
There were a few,
Uh-huh.
but I don't know. I haven't heard of any, except those who came and bought the land afterwards.
I mean, yeah, I'd assume they bought it for sure. Because I think the only thing that I've learned in history was we had white lands.
White lands
Yeah.
belonged to the British.
Yeah.
Because in East Africa, we had the Italians and the Germans, the British fighting. So those who won,
They were rewarded the land.
they got the land.
Okay.
That is after these people came.
Yeah.
No, they came there during the First World War. Sorry. But during the Second World War, remember the British, the Germans, and whatever we are fighting.
Yeah.
The Italians. So the Italians, the British, the Germans came to fight in East Africa. But the British won, and they took Uganda, they took Kenya, and they took Tanzania. But for Kenya, they called it a colony. That it became theirs.
So that was the headquarters?
It was almost, in fact, it was not like headquarters because each nation had their own headquarters. But all the same, we had the headquarters for East Africa in Kenya.
So Tanzanians, you've had that. Stop the fight. Anyway, play.
For Uganda, they called it a protectorate.
A protectorate. Okay.
So they had to protect it.
Yeah.
They didn't really own it completely, but it was theirs because if anything happened, they were the ones answerable.
Wow.
For Tanzania, it was called Tanganyika.
Tanganyika.
They made it a territory.
Okay.
It was their territory, but not as much taken over as the other two. But for Kenya, it was theirs. There is nothing you could do.
Wow. So that's why we had the Mau Mau forming up and grouping up.
Yeah, because to go to Uganda, you had to pass through Kenya. So they had to control that place.
Yeah.
To get some goods from wherever they were bringing them from to Tanzania, they have to come through Mombasa.
Yeah, through the coast, yeah.
Through the coast of Mombasa.
Because Uganda is landlocked.
And this is why they built the railway from Mombasa to Kampala, and then from and it branched, I think, Foi through Arusha, entering Tanzania. So they were able to connect through Kenya.
Yeah.
Any other nation they could reach.
Okay.
So.
Wow, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, I did. I think it's a lot of things that you've said in there that I didn't know, because I didn't know about Italians for sure. Because I think the history books, they pretty much talk about British people a lot, more than Italians or anybody else. So I think you being born in that era, have lived in that life and all that, it pretty much clarifies or brings things to clarity of how many things. Probably I might be the only one who missed out on this, but I think I missed out on the Italians and stuff. But I think if other people heard about it, they might be shocked about it too. But I'm surprised for sure. Yeah. Wow. So how did that differ from the... I think you mentioned something about the United States slavery a little bit. So how did the African slavery differ from the United States slavery?
Okay. For the slavery in Africa, let's say in Kenya, and especially, even in other nations of Africa, slavery was of two types.
Yeah.
It was slavery through labor and also slavery through the mind.
Okay.
For the people who went to work for these people, they were paid very little. If I tell you per month, in the beginning they were paid 1 shilling. That is, I think, is it 1 cent here?
So roughly, I don't think it can.
It has no value anyway.
It can't even make a cent.
Yeah, whatever they were paid was peanuts.
Yeah,
and they are the ones who picked the coffee. They made sure it was cultivated for, pruned, because there is that thing that will remove the excess leaves. And they were also living in very bad conditions. The houses were made of mud, and they were thatched with grass. The roofs were made of grass. So you can imagine what happened when it started raining.
It drips into the house.
It drips into the house. And until they had time to go and get more grass and remove the old one.
Patch it up. Okay.
Patch it up.
Wow.
They had very little time to go and see their relatives. So most of them were forced to marry and take their wives there. So the children were brought up there. There were no schools in most of those areas. So they became slaves in a way that even education, there was no health care, and even beatings. They would be beaten.
So it was like discipline or...
Yeah.
Was the beatings during
During the
work hours, or was it after?
even during working hours, and especially after, because there were people whom they called overseers,
Okay.
those who used to go round and see what the workers were doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after these people worked for many years, their minds became dull. They thought this was the only thing.
This is the only thing they can
It is
do.
the only kind of life they can
Live.
live. Until it was almost too late. Most of those people who are in shambas, their children started getting education very late. And the other thing about the kind of slavery they made us have, they put into us is education was not free, and it was not for everybody. Those who agreed to be Christians, at least we are able to get a space in the schools.
For free, or did you still have to pay?
They had to pay. And again, there was a lot of discrimination.
Yeah.
If you are Catholic, you couldn't go to a Protestant school.
Yeah.
If you are a Protestant, you couldn't go to a Catholic. Even teachers were employed according to their denomination and their beliefs.
Wow.
Until this thing came up. So, but the thing is, even if you are oppressed, those who were not in areas like our places, we were able still to continue working in our shambas. But during the Mau Mau time, those who were involved went through so much. Because especially my family, my grandfather, because he was a bit enlightened, even his sons, because my great-grandfather was a chief.
Yeah.
So they knew what freedom was. So when this thing came up, and he had some of his children who were educated, they joined the Mau Mau. And because they were taking oaths, my grandfather offered his homestead so that people can come and pledge allegiance to the Mau Mau group.
Yeah.
And this is how his sons came in.
Oh, wow.
So they had to fight.
Yeah.
Our homes were burnt after that. Those three of my uncles were killed. One was even in standard 8 during that time.
So
he was intermediate.
So during this period, was that when the railway station was passing through, or that was before?
The railway was already built. This was back in 1952-53. There. 49. The war started a bit earlier. But it continued.
Yeah.
Even 1952, they were still fighting. But the railway was already built. And to go back a bit, these people were very selfish. They brought the Indians, whom they had conquered in India, to come and build the railway. For the road, they got most of the Italians they had defeated to come and build the roads. The roads?
Okay.
Yeah. There is even a memorial for the Italians on your way from, what do you call the escarpment? We call it that? The road from Rimuru to, on your way to Nakuru.
I don't
when
know.
you are passing through, we call it the escarpment.
Escarpment? Really?
You know that road?
I think I know the escarpment. I just know, I don't know
There
the
is
road.
that road that goes from Nairobi to Nakuru.
Yeah.
It passes on the other side of the Abadeas.
Yeah.
There is a small church there which was built by the Italians. It is still there. Even today, if you go there, you'll find it. Because most of them were Christians, they had to build a church so that they can have a place to worship.
I should go there. Okay.
When you go there, ask the driver to stop. You can even go. Even have somebody and tell you. You even have to Google.
Wow. I didn't know that.
It's just there. You can see it on
I
the,
think
from the road.
I didn't know that. If I had learned about it in history, I've forgotten about it for sure. I've forgotten about it, but I think it's something that I have to go and see at one point in time for sure.
Okay. You asked for the difference between the slavery here
Yeah.
and the one in Africa.
Yeah.
The-
So
the
before you answer that, during the colonial period, did they have to pick slaves from Kenya? If that's right, I don't want to say Africa because you didn't know about the entire Africa. But let me ask about Kenya. Did they pick up slaves from Kenya to come to the United States or go to Britain and all that?
Usually, very few slaves were taken to Britain.
Okay.
But from Uganda, Tanzania, and Kenya, the slaves were taken by the Arabs.
Yeah.
The Arabs are the
slavery
ones who
trade
captured.
yeah, I think I remember that.
This slave trade of the slave traders who took the slaves from West Africa did not come to East Africa. So our slaves were taken by the Arabs. And this is why if you go to Palestine, you'll find blacks there.
Yeah.
If you go to India, you'll find black people there.
True.
We are all far.
True, yeah. Yeah.
So this one, for the Arabs, they didn't have to ask for permission or to let the chiefs sell people to them. They just came to a village. I told you people used to live in communities
Sure, yeah.
very near.
Yeah.
So they would come, burn the houses, catch the people, and take them.
Because they don't have nothing else to fall back to. Okay.
So for these ones, they just came and invaded. They raided the areas, the villages, and took the people. But for West Africa, okay.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Okay. For West Africa, there were those who were captured, and there were those who were sold. And for the royal families, those who were kings, chiefs, if they were bad, the community would sell them.
So when you say bad, how are they bad?
Ruling. The way they rule. You know, there are people who rule with an iron hand.
So the ruling was wrong for them.
Yeah, dictators.
Okay.
They would be sold.
Okay.
And
we want Ruto to go. Okay.
And this is why, you know, you cannot be a king or a chief if you are a dull.
Yeah.
You have to be bright.
True.
You have to be a visionary man.
True.
And this is why you have some of these visionary people, very bright people here in America, because most of them were from royal families. Families which are able to build kingdoms, rule over it, and invent things.
True, yeah.
Because there are so many great things that have been hidden in Africa.
For sure.
But when they speak about us, because of the way they treated the slaves, imagine getting somebody, tying them in chains. This was horrible.
Yeah.
I wish they only put them in ships because they could not jump into the water because there was nowhere else they could go. But tying them, putting them under deck, and then coming to use them here like even animals are better.
Yeah.
The way these people were treated, I just feel for them. Because if you have to go to a shamba and you have a chain, a hole at your ankle and a chain on your leg, when you are working, somebody may decide to pull you.
Yeah.
Others had metal bars on their heads, others on their necks. They were blooded, so that the owners may know them if they run away.
Yeah.
So they had to be marked. They worked in very difficult conditions. Sometimes no food. the way the places they lived in were, I don't know. Anyway, this is, sometimes I just ask whether these people had human spirit.
Yeah.
Or they had, I don't know. Did they have any human feelings? Imagine the way they beat these people. If one rebelled, they were killed. Those who tried to help others were hunted. But God is good. Because darkness does not last forever.
Yeah.
Because light has come. Because these people used to work, no salary. At least those back home got something.
True.
And they were able at least to go home maybe once a year and visit their people. But these ones, they didn't even know where they came from. They didn't have their roots. When they came here, they were told not to be speaking their own languages. So some of them don't even know their languages. They don't know where they came from. They just know that they came from Africa.
Yeah.
But they labored. They made these people rich. They are enjoying what they are enjoying because of them. And today, most of them are still suffering.
Yeah.
One, not because they want to. When you become oppressed, your mind becomes dull. You don't think well. So you can do anything.
Yeah.
You just live for that day. You
For
don't think
survival,
about tomorrow. You don't think about tomorrow.
Yeah, you live through the days.
So
just for
most of
survival.
these people we find here are living the way they are living, taking drugs. They don't even want to go to school. It's not their fault. Me, I don't blame them. Because if they had somebody to hold their hand, at least they would change.
Yeah.
We have some people, even in our nation.
Yeah.
Some of them have been living in diverse conditions. Some have these jiggers, these fleas that get into the legs.
Yeah, that's jiggers. Yeah. Yeah.
Others have these body things that live on people, the rice, and they don't know that they have a problem.
No.
They just feel comfortable. I remember one episode where somebody had gone to interview a family. No, they had built a house. They were opening. So one of the daughters of a granddaughter, she was in Form 3 last year. She was asked whether how did she feel living in that house? It was like it's like a chicken house, very small.
Wow.
Even entering, you have to bed. She said she was okay. Okay, living in that house.
I think it's just being accustomed to the environment that you love best. Yeah.
It's just like during our time. Some people did not even want to go to school. Waking up early, going through the rain.
But I think it relates to same thing as nowadays too, because back in the day, I understand somebody wouldn't want to go to school because what's the point of going to school if you're being oppressed? Go to school, come back home, work for somebody who's oppressing you and making you feel like you're slaved instead of you feeling like you're having your own freedom. It's the same thing as today too, because people are going to school. You get out of school, get a degree and all that, graduate and all that, come back out here, apply for a job, and you don't get the job. So you pretty much wasted your time in school, for sure.
So, at least the things have changed. And, no, another question.
Okay, so yeah, it's okay. So you talked about the slavery in Africa and all that. So we talked about Mau Mau, the group created to retaliate against the slavery and colonial times, whatever. So if you don't mind expounding on that, how did Mau Mau get into it? How did they tackle the situations? How did they handle it? How did they fight?
Okay. Initially,
Mm-hmm.
there were people like Hariduku. He was
Hariduku.
educated.
I think I remember that name. Yeah.
He formed a party called CAU,
Cow.
Kenya
Yeah.
African Union.
Yeah.
And he was educated. He was employed by these people, the colonialists. So he could see the oppression, the racism. Because even in Nairobi, there were areas a black person could not go. Muthaiga was for the whites. Kenyatta Hospital was for the whites. It was known as King George. You couldn't go there. There were schools like Alliance, schools like Kenya High. Those were for whites. We have Remuru.
Okay. No, I feel like this is all news because I don't think I knew all this. Alliance being a white place and okay,
Yeah.
keep going. Okay, yeah.
We had the Alliance boys and girls. They were
Yeah.
for whites.
Uh-huh.
We had the Kenya High. We have Arimuru, not the Loreto. We have two Rimurus.
Okay.
One was Rimuru, Loreto Convent, and there is another one which is known as Rimuru Girls.
Yeah.
That one was for whites.
Okay.
Even for other schools in Nairobi, they were for whites. I remember in my area there is one school which was for Indians because they also could not go to European schools.
Yeah.
Africans could not also attend in that school. Even today it is it's a public school, but it is known as Indian.
Wait, hold on. Say the name of it. The full
It's
name.
called Karatina DEP.
Karatina DEP.
DB,
Okay.
but it is we people know it as DB Indian because it was for Indians.
Wow. So for Kenyans who go to that school, it's an Indian school. Anyway, I didn't know that. It's a lot of things that I didn't know.
Yeah, but today there are no Indians who go there. They used to take their children to those who are from that area. They used to take them to another town. There is another school which was also for the whites, but then they started incorporating the blacks from the rich families.
So was the rich families like chiefs?
Chiefs could not afford.
So who were the rich families?
Those people who got educated, they got into business. Others were elected in government posts like MPs. They were able, or bankers. They were able to take their children there.
So was this during the colonial period?
No,
Was it
this is
after? After?
Even when colonialism.
So was that after independence or just?
Those things were before independence, but now I'm talking about what happened after independence.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because that makes sense. Because I was questioning how were the white people accepting people going to their school. Because I remember from history, they would not accept people coming to their own school.
They couldn't.
Yeah.
Even those who were accepted, like in Alliance, like Rimuru Girls, Kenya High, we are from those high-profile people.
Yeah.
But then, as things went on, after independence, things started changing. And how many schools like Alliance started accepting children according to their performance. Because they were the only... We had those schools are known as national schools.
National schools, yeah.
They were very few.
Yeah.
Because we had that one, Alliance, Kenya High.
Mau, there was Mau.
Mang was not a national school by then.
When did it
There
become
was
a national school?
Rimuru, Loreto, Highlands. It was known as Highlands, known today as Moi Girls in Rift Valley
Wow.
and in Eldoret. We had very few national schools. They have become nationalized during Moi's time.
Okay.
Mang School was just a provincial school. Now the provincial schools have been upgraded
Nationalized.
to national.
Okay.
District ones or county ones have now been
Provincialized.
yeah.
Okay.
So
So yeah, okay.
Mau Mau, okay, went on from this. It started slowly. It was a fire that was lit, especially by that man. But there were others, like Waiyaki. There was a man known as Waiyaki Wahinga.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
He's one who
You're
started.
jogging my memory. I think I forgot the history a little bit. Yeah, Waiyaki Wahinga, yeah.
Who was taken by these colonialists. And we learned that he was, according to history, we are told that he was buried in Kibwezi alive.
Alive?
Yeah.
I think the one person they said who was buried alive was
But we have come to know that his body, somebody was talking about it last month, that his body is in UK.
How did they find it?
Nothing is impossible these days.
I mean, I understand it's not impossible, but who's been keeping up with that story for that long until date to come and
there are
find it in
people
the
who
UK?
have the history and they may always tell. There is no secret between two people.
Yeah, I get that for sure. But I'm just curious, who was keeping up with this story though? Like, from the time a guy buried alive, keep on
No,
going.
that is history.
It's
You
history.
know they have to tell us.
I mean, I understand the history, but my curiosity is who's been keeping up with this story until today? They come and say they found the body in the UK.
Where is Kimathi's body?
Dead and Kimathi. So that's the person I was talking about.
Where is his
got
body?
buried alive? Yeah, I don't know.
He
know.
wasn't
It's history,
buried
so I
alive.
don't even know.
He wasn't buried alive.
So what happened?
He was killed.
Ah,
They executed him.
so they executed him. So where did they take his body to?
That's the question.
So nobody knows.
Where did they take the body of Patrice Lumumba?
Oh, Patrick Lumumba, yeah.
Huh? We are coming to learn about it that they took him to UK. Was it UK or Belgium?
I don't remember.
Yeah. And they poured acid
On his body.
on his body. But his relatives have now, I don't know, does it mean that acid cannot melt the teeth?
It depends on what kind of acid you're using, but I don't know.
Okay. There are many people who have been killed, executed in secret. You are told we have done this to this person, but you have not there been as a witness.
Yeah, as an eyewitness.
So you
yeah.
just agree and believe what they have told you.
Yeah.
There are so many bad things these people did. Because even in our county, there is a place where they used to bury people alive. They dig the hole, they put the person head down.
No casket, just...
They are alive. They just bury them like that. No casket. There were no caskets by then. Even during my time when I was young, when people died, they were wrapped in blankets.
I mean, yeah, I get that, but I think the one for Dead and Kimathi, they used a casket from the pictures that we see on the history books. I'm not going to say, yeah, I know that for sure. I'm just saying from the pictures that we see on the history books and stuff, they have a casket taking a picture of him alive, wrapped his arms like this, and it's just
Because he
laid
was
down like
chained.
this, looking up. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's
he was
how-
chained
when
or handcuffed or whatever. So he was just wrapped up. His arms are like this. That's all I can say. I cannot say there was not casket. I cannot say they took the picture before they poured the soil in. That's all we saw
He
in the history
wasn't.
books.
That picture was not in a photograph. Was not in a coffin.
So that was pretty much...
It was where he was in prison.
That was in prison?
Yeah, he was chained. He couldn't be let loose.
But... Okay. Yeah, I get it. I can... I think I get it now because the picture is just pretty much of indication of who Dedan Kimathi is, but it's not indication of where he got buried at. Yeah, I get it now. I understand.
Now, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
If they killed Kimathi and buried him,
Uh-huh.
who buried him? Wasn't there anybody even to know where the grave was?
I think that
Because a person cannot be buried by one person.
True.
There were Africans there. The thing is, according to my own thinking, Kimathi was not killed in Kenya.
Okay.
That is what I think. I'm not saying it is true, but that is to my own thinking. Because the family has been looking, imploring the government to give them his remains. We have other people's remains being exhumed and presented to the families. Why not this one? As such an important person, how could his grave miss?
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Anyway, we are going to run more. We are going to run more, and people will be surprised.
Yeah,
by
there's a lot. I think there's a lot more that the government hides than the public knows. That's for sure.
I'm telling you, there is so much hidden by these people. And let me say something. I happened to be in a school where we had a very big library.
Okay.
And I liked reading. So I read a lot about the history of these people. Even the church history is very much in my head. So I know most of the things these people have been hiding from us.
Yeah.
Because the people who brought the books did not think people would even bother to read.
I think from my understanding, if I have to say it, that's the reason why they wrote books, because they knew Black people don't like reading.
They don't like reading.
They don't like reading. So I think everything that they put down in books, Black people don't read. So that's why they hide information.
And again, I had an interest in knowing, because my father was he didn't vie for any seat. And because of the way he was brought up and the family he came from, he was interested in politics and again in current affairs.
Yeah.
So I knew about Patrice Lumumba when I was in class 5. My father had that magazine.
Okay.
He used to buy Taifa Leo because he didn't know how to read English. But with that one, he had it.
Okay.
I didn't learn much about it by then, but I know there was Patrice Lumumba. Afterwards, when I came to know English, I read. And I know there was a man known as Patrice Lumumba. There was Kwame Nkrumah. They are men who would have united Africa.
True.
But now, because these people wanted us to remain as slaves, they had to eliminate them.
Yeah.
But you cannot hide the truth forever.
I mean, that's for sure, because there's people who are curious about what's going on, what's in the blinds and all that. True.
So we are feeding something. Okay. I don't know why I'm getting lost.
It's okay.
We were talking about Mau Mau.
Mau Mau, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. They got together after they were told what is happening in the offices. Even when you got educated, there were jobs you could not get. Even in there, it was just like here. Discrimination.
True.
Now when they think of hospitals, they are there, but you cannot be treated. Schools, they are there, you cannot go. Shops, you couldn't go to certain shops.
Yeah.
There are commodities that you could not get in African shops. So they decided, this is our land. They have taken it. Our people are suffering. So what do? Let's fight for our land.
Yeah.
We want it back. Somebody cannot come and take your house and say, this is my house. No, get out.
You have to get it back.
And you start living outside and you become comfortable. You have to fight back. So they decided to form this movement so that they can fight for their liberation. The word Mau Mau means, it's a Swahili word. You know what it means?
Yeah, mzungu arudi Ulaya, Mwafrika apate uhuru. Meaning, for the English people, it means...
Because they are the ones
I don't
want
to be racist. Okay, I'm trying to explain that.
Okay, explain.
I'm not trying to be racist, but the word is, Mau Mau means, is mzungu arudi Ulaya, Mwafrika apate uhuru. Meaning, whites getting back to their land, which is pretty much the United States, Britain, whatever it is, and the Africans getting their united, getting united or getting their liberation, pretty much. Yep.
Yeah. Let's
Or
be
getting their
clear
freedom,
here.
if you
We
want to
didn't
use
have
that.
Americans there.
So
Leave this one.
it's just Mzungu is just pretty much for everybody though.
They were special groups because Africa was colonized by the Portuguese.
Yeah.
The Americans were just new here. How could they come and colonize us? They were also coming here to colonize these people. So the people who colonized us were from Europe. We have the Portuguese. They took most of the nations in Southwest Africa and Mozambique in the east. That was a Portuguese colony or whatever. We have the Belgians, the French. Those were the major colonizers. And then we have the Dutch who had come in South Africa very many years.
Yeah.
So America is not there.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. But I think there's one thing that I had.
They are the same people, yes. But those who oppressed us, these ones oppressed the slaves. And again, do you know who brought the slaves here?
I don't.
The Portuguese, the British, the Italian.
So how did the Americans come about?
The Americans came here after. There were men like about 2. There was Columbus. There was
African Columbus.
Huh?
Was his name African Columbus or what?
There was Magellan, Ferdinand Magellan. There was Columbus. I can't remember his other name.
I'm
So
sorry.
Columbus-
I think I used African Columbus. It's a reggae music. I'm sorry. African Columbus. It's a reggae musician.
They were trying to find out whether the world was round. So they started sailing. Columbus came this way. Then Magellan went. There was Bartholomew Dias. He reached Cape Town. He couldn't go further, so he came back. But next time, he sailed and went up to India. Then there was another group led by Magellan. That one sailed from Europe, came west through the Atlantic, round South America, the Pacific, went to the Philippines, and that's where he died.
So how did he die?
They fought. Then his group continued and went back to their land. I think they were Portuguese or whatever. Then Columbus came up to the coast of America, North America. He went back. Then he came back. Because when he came, he found there was gold here. People were civilized. So he went and gave the report. He has found good land here. So he came. So people started coming here. And this is why the eastern parts of North America is they are thickly populated. Because those were the first places where these people came and drove out the Indians.
Wow.
And the Africans who were here because they were Africans
Yeah.
here in America. They took their gold, and those who refused, they cut their hands.
I've heard about it, yeah.
So the next thing Britain did, they had prisoners. So they said, because we have found another land, why don't we take these criminals there? So these people, they were known as convicts. They were brought here. And this is why you find that some of these people are brutal because it is in their blood. If somebody was a criminal, he would just produce a criminal.
Okay. I'm sorry. I had to. Okay, so you say they're criminal. When they give birth, they produce a criminal. Okay.
Yeah, you have seen some of them are very harsh. We have very
True.
good ones here.
Yeah.
Some of them are so good.
Mm.
I have some who are my friends, and I love them.
Yeah.
But there are some, my goodness. Oh. Anyway, so they came and occupied this land,
Yeah.
just as those who came and occupied Africa.
Uh-huh.
But these ones were worse than those who came to Africa, because they killed, they drove away the natives.
Uh-huh.
You know that.
I know. I'm reading the history and all that. Yeah, I understand.
But those who came to Africa, at least, they only killed those who resisted.
Mm.
But they couldn't resist. These people had, they had what? They had arrows, which were poisonous. But let's say in Kenya, it's not very many tribes that use poisoned arrows.
I wouldn't mention a tribe that I know for sure, because I think
I'm saying they used arrows for hunting.
yeah.
They used the spears for fighting. But usually the kind of fighting they did is just going raiding, taking goats, sheep, and whatever.
Yeah.
Not for any other reason.
No.
So these people got together.
If they used them for hunting and stuff. So when it came to the seasons for war, did they use them?
Yeah. They used them. But war really broke in these tribes, especially in Kenya.
But there was wars between tribes though in Kenya.
Very little. I'm saying they fought because of whatever they wanted to get from the others. But not just fighting like that.
It was mostly either cattle or land though.
Uh-huh. But usually the elders came, they sat, they negotiated. But fighting of land just came recently.
Even back in the day it was though, because it's in the history.
It is in the history.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that much. Because people used to graze anywhere.
I mean, grazing, I understand. I don't think in the history books I heard about anything about grazing and fighting over that. But I think the one thing that I know and I understand that I read about was pretty much they fought over land, pastoral land. Like if it was cultivatable, they would fight over there for sure. Yeah, and I think the fight was pretty much between the Kisia land and is it Kalenjin or Maasai? I think there's that tribe.
Kuria,
they fight for pastoral land.
Those ones fought because we have the Maasai in Tanzania. We have the Maasai in Kenya. We have Kuria in Tanzania, and we have Kuria in Kenya. So those ones could fight. Because usually, maybe, I don't know why they were fighting anyway, but there were fights in that area. But in areas like Central, and even in Rift Valley, except for the upper part, the raids, the Pokot, the Turukana, the Saburu, they didn't fight as fighting, they were raiding. They fought only when they went to raid, and it was once a year. There was a time when they had to go and do that. Yeah. Because they had to ask their gods to direct them. They couldn't just, because they believed in those traditional gods. Yeah. But fighting for land, they fought for water, yes, but not for real land. That for the pastoralists is so big.
Yeah.
But these days, people have increased. Land is not increasing, so there could be fights.
Yeah, true.
So when we go back to Mau Mau, when this group was formed, they took an oath. And before they did that, when they formed that group, they prayed to God. And they said, God, we are going to fight this war.
Yeah.
If we win, you win.
Yeah.
If we don't win and we are defeated, you are the one who will be defeated.
Okay.
And they did fight.
So how long was the fight for?
They fought for a number of years until the emergency was declared.
So when these fights happened, was it night and day or was it
90.
no night and day? Was it night and day or just
It was day and night
4 years?
for a number of years. But the fighting was like this. These people, the Mau Mau could come and invade the camps where the askari were.
Also, where the military men were camping. Yeah.
They could also come into the villages and kill the people who were spying on them. And it was bad because now when people were killed by the Mau Mau, the government side would also come and kill the people who were related to the
Mau Mau.
To the Mau, because they knew to the Mau Mau. They knew one another.
Yeah.
So it was hard. Brothers could betray brothers. It was bad.
Wow.
But then after 1952, when the emergency was declared, these people could no longer come because when the war became fierce, the askaris in Kenya and the soldiers asked for reinforcement from Queen Elizabeth.
Okay.
So soldiers were sent. They fought, but then the Queen decided no, there should be no more fighting. So she's the one who stopped the war. Wow. The Mau Mau ran into the forest and they stayed there until they were told to come out and surrender.
Okay, so you said that, and I'm kind of curious because I think when it comes to Madaraka Day, there's a holiday, either Madaraka Day or
Jamhuri.
Jamhuri.
No, not.
The Independence Day that's Madaraka Day.
Madaraka Day, yes.
So when it comes to Madaraka Day, sometimes I think I don't know about nowadays, but I think the last time that I celebrated it, we celebrated the Mau Mau, and it was a group of like 4 Mau Mau men who showed up. And I think the Mau Mau men are not given the credit they deserve. So with that being said, I was gonna question, with the Mau Mau people fighting, was it known who the Mau Mau person or who the Mau Mau men were in the community? Or was it a sacred thing so that they don't disclose their identity? Or
they were known.
They were known?
They were known.
So that it's just the community couldn't say who they are?
They could say, but they were not there. After fighting, they ran into the forest. They went into
So
hiding.
They never came back home?
Coming home, they did, because they had to come for food.
I mean,
but
yeah,
not home there like that. There were people. They had a good plan because they knew, and they had an arrangement. If they wanted food and they were passing through a certain, let's say they are coming from Florissant and they are passing through St. Charles, they would say, we are on our way from Florissant to maybe to
St. Louis, because we're passing through St. Charles.
We are going to
Wentzville, because Florissant and St. Charles and Wentzville. Okay.
So they knew where the food, the women in the village knew where they could cook the food, not meat, cook the food and leave it somewhere.
They leave it, not meet them.
No, they didn't have to meet them because if they meet, they may be followed.
And it's going to disclose their location.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So they went and put the food. Sometimes they would say, we are passing through, so and so they would send somebody in the village to the people who were on their side. Tell the women to cook, we shall be passing there. Wow. So they will just come during the night, take their food and go.
And they're gone.
But there are places which are known for fierce wars, where these people could confront one another.
Like where? Do you know one?
Yeah, there is a place. There is a place known as Kahera. There is a river known as River Roiroiro, Black River.
Black River.
Yeah, but we call it Roiroiro. There are caves there. There are caves.
But I've had Black River there.
There are caves. So these people, I think somebody said they are there. So there was a war that was fought there.
Wow.
Fierce. But the Mau Mau won. And they ran away because it is not very far from the forest. They disappeared.
Wow.
So
Sometimes I feel like I was one of the Mau Mau people, but I would love to meet somebody who fought the war. And I mean, I know right now they might be old and all that.
they are still there,
Not a lot,
but
though.
they are not appreciated.
They are not. That's what I was saying. Like,
Some
I
of
think
them
the
are
last time
living
that
in very bad conditions. Some have no place to live. Others are still living with bullets in their legs. I have a cousin on my stepfather. He lived until he died with a bullet in the knee.
Yeah. So yeah, I understand. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think the last Madaraka that I celebrated was, I think it was disclosed in the crowd. It was like 4 Mau Mau men who came just to see how Kenyans are celebrating Madaraka Day or whatever. And I think whoever brought them said, hey, we cannot celebrate this day, and whoever fought for this day, they're not being appreciated. So that's when they showed themselves. But from the group, they said a lot of people have died and all that. But I would really wish to meet one of the people or two maybe and dig deep into how their stories were, how they fought and all that. But it kind of makes me curious, honestly, because I'd like to know what kind of life that is.
Most of them live in Nyandarua.
Nyandarua?
Nyandarua County. Those
But
who are remaining.
it'll be hard for them to disclose themselves, though. I know that they don't like to do that.
They don't care if you go and you want to meet them. They will just agree to meet you.
Sure.
Yeah, they have no problem. People go and interview them.
Who? I'd like to see somebody who's interviewed one of them, because I'd love to interview one of them too, because I want to know the story. Yeah.
I will check and see.
If you know somebody who's done that, let me know, because I would love to interview them, because I'm curious. Just curious.
These people were forgotten.
It's people
they
who
fought
forgotten
for
for
RAD.
sure. Yeah.
And when the time for demarcating the RAD was done, especially in Central, because it was the first place where RAD was demarcated, they got nothing because they were not there. And some of their brothers and relatives were, some did not have brothers. Maybe some were killed.
Yeah.
Maybe others did not have. And girls in the old days were not given RAD. So even if they had sisters,
they were not given land.
They were not given RAD. So the RAD was taken by the other members of the clan.
Which is really
and this
bad.
is even their children did not go to school.
True.
And because most of them came out after independence, some of them came out years before, because there was a man there too. Men who were taken in an aeroplane by the whites to go and announce in the air, across the forests, telling them to surrender, to come out. Nobody will ask them. But then there are those who were in detains, like my dad. He stayed there for years.
Wow.
He was released in 1956. And the beatings they got from there, he came home with six of his molars and 6 of his teeth out.
That's brutal. It's brutal.
And even myself, I have tasted food from the prison. Yeah. When the houses were burnt, my dad was in Nairobi. So my mother decided that we have to walk to. There was no way you could not, without a passport or a pass, it was called a passbook. You could not move from one county to another.
Without one.
So, and there were no IDs for women.
Wow.
So she took us, we were with other women, and we started walking from our home. We slept somewhere, and then the woman, because she was near a town, she gave our mother pangas and
Which
a
is
basket.
machetes, for those who don't understand. Machete.
Machete,
Expand.
yeah. So that if they are caught, they would say that they are going to the shamba. But unfortunately, my mother had 3 dresses on herself because she could not have carried clothes. So she had put her clothes on her body.
So she dressed in 3 different outfits.
So we found the police and they started interrogating them. They said they were going to the shamba, but then they looked at I think they had met others. And when she found, then she was asked, "You are going to the shamba, to the farm, and you have 3 clothes, 3 dresses." So we were caught. We were arrested.
That's crazy.
So I have eaten potatoes and peeled potatoes, beans with the weevils. My goodness. Although I didn't stay there for long. My father came for us. But then he was arrested. So we had to go back home with my grandmother. My grandmother had gone and she was able to reach. So she had to take us back home.
Wow.
We had to look for a place to live. We were living a family of more than 10 people in one house, around the house.
That's
10
tough.
families and the children. So
That's
they
tough.
used to cook outside. During the night, we were to spread sacks. That's why we slept.
Yeah.
But we were fortunate because we had we had a roof over our head.
It's true.
But God is good.
God is always good.
Because
for sure.
after all this, after sleeping on sacks,
You're still here.
God did not stop us from going to school. The enemy did not stop us from going to school.
Yeah.
But the thing is, slavery is not just labor.
Yeah.
You may have everything. You may be free in a free country, but you may be enslaved in the mind.
Yeah.
Even people some of the children are brought up in very good families, but their minds have been enslaved.
True.
They would not appreciate the goodness in their homes.
As long as they don't have no freedom. As long as they don't have no freedom.
They may have the freedom, but they don't appreciate because their minds are bowed.
Yeah.
There are some slavery. One can enslave oneself. You can be enslaved and you can enslave
yourself. Okay.
Yeah. But you can get out of it.
Yeah.
So, most of the Africans have been enslaved in their minds. And this is why we have even our leaders doing whatever they are doing because they have no freedom.
Yeah.
They don't know who they are. They don't appreciate the potential they have. They don't know they don't appreciate the responsibility they have for the community, for the nation.
Yeah.
So they just think about themselves.
True.
So when one is selfish, it's a sort of slavery.
Yeah.
So God is, if we think and desire and have a vision, we shall always achieve what we want, no matter how enslaved we are.
True. We've talked for a while for sure, and I think this story is not going to end, but I think I'm going to call you on a different show. We're going to have to talk more, and we'll let people know what's there to be known, and if they got questions, I'll push them to you, and you're going to elaborate more on that for sure, and let us know what needs to be known. But with that being said, guys, we've talked for a while, and I think it's time we jump off the show for sure. Until next time, feel free to subscribe, like, comment, share, and join us next time for sure. With that being said, goodbye.